Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a horror film from France, French language English subs, released in the year 2021, directed by Alexandre Bastillo and Julien Marie, and this film is called Kandisha. So Kandisha is about a Moroccan legend. You have these French teenagers who are young and they're rebellious. They do everything that their parents say not to do. They're graffiti artists. They go around smoking, talking about sex, everything that you expect from this age group. But they also have a belief. Now, one of these girls is of Moroccan heritage, and there is a legend called Kandisha. Now, Kandisha is a beautiful woman that is summoned to act on revenge to those males that have done that person who's summoned her wrong. So on one evening, there is a friend of one of these girls who used to be the boyfriend, but now they've broken up. She doesn't love him anymore, but he's not going to take no for an answer. So he forces himself upon her, and this leaves her devastated. And so out of frustration and anger, she summons this demon without fully understanding the consequences that this is going to bring. And now not only has this guy been found dead, but those around her that are very important to her are being found dead as well. So as the situation spirals out of control, things are going to get very, very bloody, and it's up to you to find out for yourself whether or not this woman can stop this curse, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Kandisha. I was so excited for this film. For those of you who know my channel and know me personally, you know that Inside is one of my favourite horror films. Alexandre Bastillo and Julien Marie are the reason why I had revived my passion in horror. When I was 8 years old, I watched Exorcist without my family knowing. I wasn't supposed to watch it, but when I saw that movie, I was genuinely scared. And this was what started my love for horror, in that I felt a certain way that other genres didn't make me feel. And so ever since that point, I loved horror, but then lately I'd become so disillusioned with it. And so I lost my passion for it. But then in 2007, I watched Inside, and that revived my passion. It actually genuinely made me feel uncomfortable. And so it took me back to when I was a child watching The Exorcist. And so The Exorcist and Inside are two of my favourite horror films and most important films in general. So taking that into consideration, the fact that these directors were responsible for such an iconic film, I had massive expectations for Kandisha. Now, they've made follow-up movies that have been okay. They haven't been brilliant, but they definitely haven't matched the standard of Inside, but they do possess that same sort of extremity, really nasty experiences. Even their English language film with Stephen Dorff called Leatherface, it was a take on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Unlike a lot of other foreign directors coming into the English-speaking arena, these directors actually kept that nastiness, and I really liked that depiction of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the sort of the prequel and how Leatherface became Leatherface. A lot of people didn't like it, but I really liked it. So coming into Kandisha with expectations at a massive high, I was hoping that this is going to be another movie that would really deliver from two absolutely fantastic directors. And at the end of the day, I can say that I'm absolutely devastated that this movie was absolute rubbish. Now, I don't know what happened, but it felt like this movie lacked motivation and lacked their trademark style. This is a film that looks good as far as cinematography is concerned, but the story was rushed, the acting was crap, the soundtrack was ordinary, and just the whole vibe of the film felt like it was churned out way too quickly, is that there is no progression of the film. Before you know it, the carnage starts, and it's just a collection of fuzzy faces in the background that I just didn't care for. So there are other movies, they have interesting characters, they have interesting aspects, but this movie just felt like a mainstream Hollywood horror film that was spoken in French. And that really pains me to say, is because I don't know what happened. It actually felt like it was an obligation of these directors to make a film, because it had no heart, it had no passion, and it had no desire to actually be there. So it's a film that was really empty. It doesn't really elevate in its tone. It just stays on a very flat, monotonous level that is not scary, and it doesn't really bring anything to the table. The extremity is there, but it is few and far between. There's a lot of kills off screen that I thought was really strange, because these guys aren't known for that. So I don't know what happened. I just felt as though this is a film where they've lost that inspiration, they've lost that passion to actually make horror films that are inventive and that actually make you squirm, make you feel very uncomfortable. I just felt very bored in this movie. So it is released on Shudder. It's a Shudder original, and unfortunately it just feels like a really terrible sort of streamed horror film. It's a streamed horror film that I would have actually accepted if it was a debut director, but coming from such great directors and really important directors for me, I just thought as I was watching another horror film, just an ordinary horror film, and it's a horror film that I would put on the very disposable pile, and that really pains me to say, because I wanted to love this film, and I thought the acting was terrible, the soundtrack was terrible, the overall situation, the legend of Kandisha was not handled very well, it was very much rushed. I just didn't think it was scary because it didn't have the patience that their other films have had, so there's just absolutely nothing to like about this movie. I thought the ending was very forgettable, it's an extremely predictable film, so it has all the hallmarks of what makes mainstream Hollywood horror terrible, in that it has no attention to detail, it's very impatient, it just tries cheap tricks, and coming from, as I said, these directors, this is what pains me the most, is that it really doesn't have any positives. I will say that the cinematography looks very good, it's a very polished film. But as I said, everything else doesn't complement that, and so it's basically just a template of what you can look at. Cool colouring, a cool sort of atmosphere, but absolutely nothing else to play off. And so that really does pain me to say, but as I said, if I'm being serious, for all you French horror-loving fans, this is definitely going to be a bitter disappointment. So hopefully I can get this out of the memory and pretend that Kandisha was not made by these directors, because they have really dropped the ball on this one. Hopefully their next film is going to be a lot better, but if Kandisha is anything to go by, maybe this is a film that these directors can put into the pile of forgettable experiences and pretend, as I said, that they really didn't even make it. So overall for Kandisha, I'm only going to give this one star. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks, thank you for watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.